Welcome back to Ringside Ramble. It's me, Niall, here bringing you all the latest news, views, and breakdowns from around the world of professional boxing. In this video, I'm here to give a quick reaction to the big development overnight as Team Tszyu was demolished inside 3 rounds by the underdog Bakram Murtazaliev, as Murtazaliev retained his IBF super welterweight title. And yeah, it was a demolition job, as I say. Tszyu was a favourite coming in, although anybody who knows boxing, anybody familiar with background Murtazaliev knew how dangerous this fight would be. You know, Murtazaliev is a real problem for anybody. He's big, he's rangy, he's a volume puncher, and he's severely heavy-handed. He really is. You know, this was always going to be a really dangerous fight for Team Tszyu. I said in my prediction and preview video that if Team Tszyu wasn't on his game or at his best, Bakram Murtazaliev would win. I expected Team Tszyu to be on his best and win the fight, but it doesn't surprise me as much as the bookmakers had suggested that Bakram Murtazaliev has knocked out Team Tszyu. You know, such a dangerous fighter. He really is, and he could go on to unify this division. He really could. You've got champions, Terence Crawford, Sebastian Fundora. You know, he could beat both of them. He really could. He's that dangerous. As I mentioned, the size, the volume punching, the power. Yeah, so congratulations to Bakram Murtazaliev on that win. You know, he knocked Tim Tszyu down 3 times in the second round, quite heavily too. Tim Tszyu gets up and looks out of it still. Personally, I'm very surprised the referee didn't stop it after the third knockdown, or the corner didn't pull him out at the end of that second round. Because it looked all over. Tim Tszyu looked like he didn't know where he was getting back up. Yeah, he just looked all over the place, and he looked in shock with the power that he was getting hit with. So if I was the referee, I would have called it off after the third knockdown, and if I was his corner, I would have pulled him out after the second. But yeah, the third round, he got floored with a huge left hand. And then it was just an onslaught until the referee and the corner kind of simultaneously called it a day. Thank God for that. Because it was a really, really bad beatdown. A really bad 3 round beatdown on Team Tszyu. And yeah, Team Tszyu devastated, devastated with the loss. Was Team Tszyu, unsurprisingly. You could tell his post-fight interviews, he was in shock, and it was just pure devastation. Although there's no shame in getting stopped by Bakram Murtazaliev, there's really not. We knew how dangerous he was coming in. There's no shame in it. It's a world title fight. Bakram Murtazaliev is world class. Although it's 2 losses in a row now for Team Tszyu. 2 losses on the spin. They're both at world level, of course. The Sebastian Fundora and Bakram Murtazaliev, but they're both world class fighters. So there's no shame in it. There's no shame in it at all. But it will be very interesting to see how Team Tszyu comes back from this. How does he bounce back from this, and how is he matched going forward now as he aims to get back to that world title level? Because I spoke in my preview and prediction before the fight. You can check it out on the channel that you have to commend Team Tszyu for coming back to such a dangerous fight. You know, he lost to Sebastian Fundora. A lot of fighters would kind of take softer touches to get themselves back to world title level. Team Tszyu scheduled a fight with Virgil Ortiz, which is an incredibly dangerous fight for your first fight back after a loss. That fight fell through because of the cut that hadn't healed, and then he jumped straight back in with Bakram Murtazaliev. You have to take your hat off to Team Tszyu for that. It's so commendable, and such a huge jump back into action straight away against those sort of names. But it's cost them here big time. Not to say if Team Tszyu was at his best, at his peak, coming in off a winning streak, that background Murtazaliev still wouldn't have knocked him out. I'm not saying that, but to come back off a loss, and after off an injury to face someone like that, it's caught up with him big time last night in Orlando. As much as you have to respect the mindset and the determination to fight somebody of that stature and of that power. But yeah, I think this time he needs to be more clever about who he fights next to get himself back in to that mix. It's an interesting division. There's there's a few names that are tied up. Of course, it won't be a world title fight. You've got Fundora, who looks like he's gonna fight Spence. Spence could have been a shout for a future opponent for Team Zoo next, but it looks like he might fight Sebastian Fundora. You've got Terence Crawford, who's without an opponent yet, but he's not going to fight Team Zoo next. Definitely not now. You've got the likes of Virgil Ortiz. I wouldn't fight Virgil Ortiz next. I think that'd be a crazy decision. Not yet. Yeah, you've got Madrimov facing Boachuk. Maybe you could look at the loser of that fight, maybe to fight Team Zoo. The winner of that fight is probably next in line for a world title shot. So that's Team Zoo needs to kind of build his way back up to that. So maybe the loser of Madrimov Boachuk on the Fury Usyk undercard could be looked at for the middle of next year, maybe if Team Zoo likely takes a break. A bit of a layoff after that devastating defeat, which I think he should. You've got other names, other interesting names. Erickson Lubin. Lubin would be a big fight to take next. If you jump straight back in with Erickson Lubin, that'd be a fascinating fight. Of course, Lubin rebounded so well from his own losses, but he's on a fast track now. The world title's at 154, so Lubin would be a big jump for Team Zoo to get back in with. It's a possibility. I'd even be looking at kind of a level or so below that. Do you know what I mean? There's those kind of not quite world class guys, but those fringe world class guys. Jesus Ramos, a dangerous puncher, huge puncher. There's names like that. There's European champion Abbas Barrel. You know, to prove if Tim Zoo can do a job on Barrel, to prove that he's still kind of world class. I believe he is world class. As I said, there's no shame in losing to Murtazaliev, especially like he did. Murtazaliev will do that to most people. So if he fights Barrel just to prove that he's a clear level or two above European standard, I know he's an Aussie, but just above, prove that he's levels above that. Would be a good fight? Abbas Barrel versus Team Zoo. Magomed Kurbanov could be a shout. Of course, former Madrimov opponent that Madrimov done a job on, but still dangerous. Still dangerous fighter, Kurbanov, so that could be an option. Brandon Adams. I think Brandon Adams is a good shout if he was to come back. Experienced, not quite world class, but very, very high, top operator and very good fighter, very skilled. Of course, defeated Sergey Bohachuk back in 2021. So he could really fight, but he's not quite at that level of world class or world titles. He's won a couple of fights this year, but it'll be a good test for Team Zero coming off two losses to see what he has left, and if he doesn't have much left or he's really kind of on the decline, Brandon Adams will give him a hell of a test. So I think Brandon Adams versus Team Zero will be a good show for a comeback fight. I really do. I think, yeah, that'd be my choice, but there's also other kind of options. There's Keith Thurman. Of course, Keith Thurman was supposed to fight Team Zoo earlier this year before he had to pull out, and of course, the rest is history. In steps Sebastian Fundora against Zoo, and yeah, Fundora, of course, the gruesome cut to Team Zoo's forehead led to a Sebastian Fundora win, and he became world champion. So Keith Thurman could be an option, but I just think Keith Thurman, how much does Keith Thurman have left? I don't think Keith Thurman will be anywhere near the fighter he was at his pomp at welterweight. So that could be an option as well. But I think the likes of a Brandon Adams type of fighter would be a good fight to see what Team Zoo has left when he comes back. If Team Zoo can come back near his best, he's still one of the best super welterweights in the world. He really is. a knockout loss, a bad knockout loss against a fighter like Bakram Murtazaliev won't change my mind on that. I think if Team Tszyu can get back to his best, he defeats most people in that division. He really does. Including Sebastian Fundora in a rematch if he ever got back to world title level. I'm a big fan of Team Zoo, and I just hope and pray this loss doesn't take a lot out of him. Because as I say, Murtazalia will do this to most people in the division, to be honest, and maybe even up at middleweight. He's that big and he's that powerful. So yeah, Team Zoo, it's going to be a devastating one to take, but he's going to have to build himself back up now and more sensibly than getting straight back in with someone of the likes of Bakram Murtazaliev or a Virgil Ortiz. Take it a little bit slower now and get yourself back into get the confidence back with a couple of decent wins before you start knocking on the door of world class fighters or world title fights. And I think he can do it. I really do. I think he can do it, and I hope he does because I'm a big Team Zero fan and I love to watch him fight. So hopefully we see him back next year and he can get back in the win column and get back knocking on the door to world titles. And yeah, just a credit to Bakram Murtazaliev, great performance, great fighter to watch. Aggressive, powerful, spiteful, volume, punching, never stops throwing. He's big, and he will be a problem. He will be a problem for any of the champions at 154 or anyone who wants to come and try and take his IBF title. So, yeah, I'm very excited to see what's next for Murtazaliev as well. So, yeah, that's just my quick reaction and a little bit about what I think could be next for Team Zoo after a devastating 3 round loss overnight in Florida to background Murtazaliev, as Murtazaliev has retained his IBF super welterweight title with an absolutely spiteful clinical performance to hand Team Zoo the second loss of his career. So, yeah, let us know what you think in the comments. What did you make of Murtazaliev's performance? And can you see Team Zoo coming back from this? Do you still think he has what it takes to win a world title? And who would you match him against next? And how far can Murtazaliev go? Can he beat Terence Crawford? Can he beat Sebastian Fundora? Is he that good? Is he that powerful? Let us know what you think. And as always, please don't forget, I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the channel, give the video a like, follow us over on X. Always great content. I'd really appreciate all the help I can get and getting the 2 pages, the YouTube channel and the X account off the ground. So yeah, give us a follow over there and give us a subscribe here. And until next time, speak again and take care.